It's really baffling to me that after more than 2 years since Frieren ever came out, there are still some people out there denying or just outright saying that it is boring. Now, I'm fully aware that this could be a rage bait, but I'm willing to bite the apple to make this video. Today I'm going to talk about why this happens, about how people seemingly bandwagoning on the same narrative, and how this is different from before. And I'm hoping that you guys can stick until the very end of the video to fully understand my point. I feel like the more anime gets mainstream in general, the more that people sideline anime that doesn't fit the common shonen tropes, which if you just rewind 8 to 10 years ago, people are more tolerable and understand with these types of anime. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot dislike this anime. Of course you can. You can also criticize the show if you find something that you didn't like. But what I'm seeing from Frieren is that people keep throwing the same words over and over again without a proper good argument, which make me realize that people completely misses two essential things when consuming a media. First, you have to know that every media has its own way of storytelling. The way that the author wants to communicate their values and ideas is different in each medium that they are choosing. Like anime is great for imagining wild ideas to come to life, which probably take a lot more effort and time for Hollywood movies to convey the same ideas. That is why some live-action anime are not as good as the original. Storytelling also implies how the author wants to present the story. Some I'm gonna tell you right in the face what the story meant, some I'm gonna tell you in a more subtle way, maybe giving you hints from previous chapters or just by looking at the environment and the visuals. And this leads to the second thing that people miss. Every media has its own appeal, has its own audience, and has its own purpose. That is why you cannot judge everything with the same metric. For example, you cannot rate Bocchi the Rock the same way you rate Demon Slayer. It would be very weird for someone to say that they didn't like Bocchi the Rock because it doesn't have a good fight scenes. You might think that person has something wrong with their head. When you understand these two things before you click the play button, you wouldn't come up with something as idiot as these people would say on the internet. Not only just for Frieren, but for every media that has ever graced this planet Earth. You wouldn't put yourself in the center of the attention, and making yourself the moral compass of what you deem as boring means that it is overrated. Now, if I'm going back to the first point that I talked about, it really grinds me down when people don't understand something, but they speak the loudest. Instead of trying to understand from different point of views, they skip that step completely and immediately arrive at the conclusion. I know there are some anime that are just bad at explaining things or making it convoluted so you have to dig deep within to understand. No, I'm not talking about those anime, but I'm talking about those that the point is already very clear, but it is ruined by some people who just don't get it. Frieren is the best recent example for this. Probably some of you have already seen the criticism around Frieren that has so many pointless scenes that have no meaning or nothing is happening. Since I wrote the script when the first episode of Frieren just released, let's take that episode as an example. Maybe they are implying the empty scenes such as the first 5 minutes of the opening sequence, which just shows a normal scenery with Frieren, Stark and Fern going to their next destination in a horse carriage, which if that is the case, I'm very worried about humanity's basic media literacy. Okay, maybe the most noticeable thing from this opening part of the first episode is that this is almost an exact reenactment of the first episode on the first season, with everything being completely mirrored one another. The reason why they are doing this is first to give you a sense of familiarity with the anime. It's been a few years since Frieren last released, and the doctor wants to re-welcome you to the series with something familiar. It is frequently used in long-running anime such as Naruto Shippuden. The second reason is to show you how far our journey was. Last season is Frieren with her old teammates, and now it's with her new party. Frieren has succeeded in meeting new people, but even so, the way that Frieren keeps saying the same thing as Himmel, and the way she keeps reading books mid-journey shows you that there are some old habits that Frieren just kept doing. And because these messages are not directly shown or talked about in the scene, doesn't mean that the scene is useless. Maybe I can spot it easier than most people since I use a lot of Frieren clips in my video, and there are more hidden meanings in those scenes that some people have already mentioned on their video. And it seems like people forget that the slow burn and all of those slow walks and silence in between the scenes is the whole message of Frieren. Frieren took everything for granted and didn't appreciate things around her. So in her new journey, she wants to take everything one at a time. Hence the slow pacing that we get now. That's why every movement in Frieren felt really slow. Even taking a briefcase or putting clothes on. Everything is tied up to the message of the story. And all of those flashbacks that these same people criticize about is also the entire point of the whole series, and also became a reason why we liked it. It's like I'm saying that I didn't like Jujutsu Kaisen because they keep fighting. Now you realize how stupid that sounds. Okay, in a bigger picture, what I'm trying to say is that every show has their own purposes, and it's really stupid to criticize the only thing that they are made for. That is why genres exist, and there are also categories based on your demographic age to further narrow down to your liking. Anime nowadays is dominated by one specific genre, which is action shonen, and the majority of people will associate anime with those genres. Animes like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen. Or if we go further back like Naruto and Bleach, all of these are action shonen animes. But the difference nowadays is that people only watch anime exclusively for those genres. All people that grew up watching anime in the 2000s or 2010s like Naruto, One Piece or Bleach for example, also explore other genres. They like anime because they like anime, not because they only like one or two shows that everyone talks about. And because they watch anime more diversely, it gives a lot more room for other anime from other genres to become popular. And most importantly, they aren't reluctant to change what is popular in that year. For example, in 2006 and 2007, Death Note was arguably the most popular anime in that year. But in the year after, everyone is talking about Clannad. Or in 2012, everyone was talking about Sword Art Online and how everyone wanted to be Kirito. But in 2014, we are all crying about what happened in that April. Now compare that trend to modern anime. All of them are action shonen. It's just a matter of one preference or one anime didn't get another season. And this is worsened by the fact that these people only watch similar anime. And this makes any anime that disrupts those trends becomes an easy target for hate. Especially that trend hasn't changed for the past decade. And that is exactly what is happening with anime like Frieren. Although Frieren is currently the one that we are focusing on, this also happens with other anime. Even the same action shonen anime like Chainsaw Man that people easily labeled as Gunner anime. It's not just about these two anime that do differently, but popularity also plays a huge role. You cannot find these discussions regarding anime like To Your Eternity, for example. Both Frieren and To Your Eternity has the same theme of appreciating time you have left from the view of an immortal being. And I argue that To Your Eternity is more of a sleep aid than Frieren. But where are these same hate energy towards To Your Eternity? Of course there aren't any because I highly doubt that these people know that anime exists. I don't know if this hate comes from just seeking attention or blindly hating popular anime to make themselves interesting. Or maybe just genuine expressions, but in a bad way. I don't know, it's really hard to tell with the internet nowadays, but I'm hoping that we can approach this in a more positive view. That is why I have my own Discord server so we can talk about anime, manga, games, or anything else in a healthier environment. And I think this topic will be more interesting if you guys can also put your opinions down in the comments. I would like to discuss with you guys, and hey, maybe I am on the wrong side of the boat and maybe your opinions can change my point of view. And one more thing, if you want more videos like this, you can simply click the subscribe button and like the video to further support this channel. And as always, I'll be waiting for your comments and see you guys in my next video.